Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the movie The Thing from Another World. Yeah. The 1951 movie that inspired John Carpenter's The Thing, and they even have similar openings. So that was kind of interesting to kind of see, and this one's definitely different. It has a different kind of roster of characters, different kind of things going on, especially in regards to the monster, the Thing. So, I watched this, and I still think of John Carpenter's one as my favorite of the two, but this is definitely an interesting one. It definitely goes within the 1950s kind of style science fiction movies. Of course, this going science fiction and horror. I watched this on, Turner Classic Movies that they kind of had. I was able to record it and watch it, and I enjoyed it. This was an interesting kind of one because in John Carpenter's one, there aren't any women characters, and here we've got two. One pretty much having a more kind of central role for our hero, Hendry. Hendry? Hendry, yeah. Captain Pat Hendry. And that introduces some interesting kind of mixes. My biggest kind of hit is that even though they've got James Arness as the monster in this, it takes so long for him to pop up that he's only in it for certain kind of bits. We see the monster fighting these dogs at one point, then we see the monster kind of pop up in this kind of greenhouse kind of thing and doing that. He gets set on fire in one part and goes off. He somehow finds clothes for himself. I don't fucking get that. Especially after he gets fucking flambéed on one. And then the kind of titular bit at the end where we kind of get him at the end. We mainly have certain kind of ones of actually exploring science with things. But a lot of stupid shit kind of happens as well. And some weird continuity kind of things. Because we start in Anchorage, Alaska. Ned Scott? Yeah, who's a journalist, is kind of trying to pump Captain Pat Henry for any kind of story or whatnot. We've got him and his co-pilot and flight navigator pretty much shooting the shit before this general pretty much calls him in. And this is where it is. He comes in and the door, is here into his study. No, wait. How am I? Okay, we start blocking in the scene. Door comes into the house. His study is over to the right. Even though I'm pointing to the left. And the thing is, Pat comes in, and he's like, close the damn door, and we see snowdrifts and everything like that going in there when it should be going the other way. It's like, what the hell? Alright, but evidently something's going out in this outpost, so they pretty much send them off to pretty much see what's going on. And something is affecting an electromagnetic thing is affecting the magnetic kind of shit that they've got for their instruments, and this tech dude is pretty much bringing them into the outpost. Let's see. And instead of utilizing helicopters, we're utilizing, of course, kind of airplanes here, which kind of changes up some certain kind of dynamics of what they can do. This plane still has skis and everything like that, and we're okay, we've got pilots, everything like that. Let's see how this kind of works out. So we get introduced to this kind of giant cast of characters. General Fogarty. That's the dude back at the base. So they go to Polar Expedition 6 at the North Pole. Of course, by the Nobel laureate Dr. Arthur Carrington. They've got an unusual aircraft that crashed. Let's see. We're introduced to Tex, Dr. Chapman and his wife, Voorhees, Stern, Redding, Stone, Lawrence, Wilson, Ambrose, and Carrington. And Nikki Nicholson, which is the kind of secretary / note keeper for Carrington. She's not completely damsel. She's not damsel in distress in this one, and she actually kind of puts up more kind of character than I thought would happen here, as her and Pat are having interesting kind of fighting and everything of what kind of happened during their last kind of dating attempt, and it doesn't feel like he's overbearing on her or whatnot. He's definitely trying that kind of arrogant kind of thing of you should be mine. And she's like, what you talking about, fool? essentially. And pretty much kind of getting him on the back foot and shit like that. There's a lot of interplay here where it's ooh, okay. It's good for character depth and understanding how Pat can assess situations and everything, and it's a nice kind of juxtaposition of what he's doing when we start getting everything kind of built up with the monster and everything. So when that kind of way definitely adds a little bit on that, and it doesn't really take away too much, but it's almost good enough that I kind of really would have been interested more in a movie that kind of explored their kind of thing going on. Now, we don't have complete and utter cannon fodder here, but most of the other ones that have been named don't really do much, except certain ones die, and certain ones kind of argue. Voorhees was a kind of, like, nice little thing where, like, oh shit, wondering if Voorhees being used here had any kind of, influence on, of course, Friday the 13th, where we have Jason Voorhees and his mother and everything like that. I'm not quite sure, but it would be interesting if that kind of linked up like that. So, they pretty much give them the lowdown of what was going on with the flying saucer. They're like, I'm not sure about this. Alright, let's kind of fucking go out and see. Talking about, like, the radioactivity and everything like that. They go out there. We get this one weird scene talking about, like, the Army's, operating protocol on UFOs and shit. I'm just like, alright, sure, you wasted a scene on that. Cool. They go out there, and evidently this is another kind of change from Carpenter's, whereas Carpenter's was more like thousands of years and then like it came out and thawed from the ice. I'm like, okay, that's cool. This motherfucker crash landed and froze over in like no time flat. And it's like, okay, and either the thing escaped from the craft or got jettisoned, and these motherfuckers are walking on the ice. It's radioactive as shit, and I'm like, ain't nobody like covering their dangly bits or whatnot? Alright, cool. So, they then go the thermite route to kind of, like, blast some shit and pretty much blow up the ship. Because we even get this where, like, the general's like, don't blow up the ship. It's like, while also telling them to do the thermite, and it's like, alright. As they're trying to do stuff back and forth. Communication is inconsistent throughout the movie, but it's never kind of explained why. Honestly, the movie probably should have ended at this point, because if there was anything that would do any kind of space travel, it would probably be some kind of exotic kind of fuel material that, if the ship blew the fuck up like it was kind of alluded to, North Pole would have been fucking dusted at this point, and these motherfuckers would be like, I was atomized and didn't even realize it. Okay. And then they kind of bang out the dude and pretty much take him back and decide to put him inside for some reason. Where Pat's like, let's not fucking thaw this motherfucker out. And I'm like, then why don't you keep him out the fuck side, man? Yeah. And of course, the dude's looking at people funny, and one of the people on guard duty for this shit. And there are some people that actually... Carrington wants to pretty much like, I want to figure out what the fuck's up with this goddamn thing, and I want to fucking autopsy it. Other people are like, this thing could have germs that could fucking kill us all, man. I'm like, thank you. Just fucking, yeah, we don't know what the fuck's going on with this. We don't have any decontamination shit. We don't have a room that would be like fucking vacuum sealed if shit went fucking gnarly. We don't even know if this fucking thing can survive this place. Or we could survive contact with it, but fuck off, man. It's like, it's wisdom, it's wisdom. Now, I get the science. This dude is just on the extreme of like, I'm gonna do this shit. It's wiser than us, it's wiser than us. It traveled the stars. And he gets fucking smacked. He survives, but he gets smacked later on. I'm like, yeah, that's the least you deserve. The very least. So, they have ships and everything. Henry's pretty much still trying to do stuff with getting the moves. One of the dudes is like, this thing is giving me the heebie-jeebies, and decides to cover it with an electric blanket. Dumbass. Then it pops up, and it's like, oh! And it's like, fuck! And he shoots at it, and it does nothing. I'd be fucking freaking at this point. And of course, this is escaped. It starts fucking fighting the dogs, which is gnarly as shit, and loses an arm. And then we get them kind of saying that it's got chitinous kind of material. It gets back to life once you give it blood, and that it's more kind of a plant kind of thing. So we've got a vampire carrot here. Alright? And they're trying to figure out where it's going, and that it pretty much broke into the greenhouse. We see that the dog is drained of blood, and it's pretty much regrown its arm by using that, and is attempting to pretty much spawn because they found seeds in the arm. And Carrington starts fucking taking blood from the place, from the blood bank that they've got, and making fucking, and just makes the plant things from it. Oh, okay, cool. There's testing to a certain degree, but I'm like, you just made a thing of, like, plants that could come and fucking kill us all. Alright, asshole. No spit. Okay. So, it is interesting seeing the back and forth between the army and the scientists. I'd have kind of a middle ground, but I tend to be more on the scientists with more of the kind of caution of, don't thaw this fucker, because we don't know what fucking germs it's got, man. And we don't know what the fuck's kind of going on with this shit. Alright? And don't pretty much start making its kids with blood and shit, my bro. We don't know what the fuck's going on with this thing, and we don't know what its objectives are. We don't really even get any kind of objectives here. Other than it's just fucking trying to get blood, pretty much. And then it's mainly focused on the human characters. That's kind of... I didn't even connect this. It's more akin to a kaiju movie. Specifically like the Godzilla that we got. Where we mainly see Godzilla at the end. We don't really... like, we're focused more on the human characters. Which, I mean, you do want to a certain extent. But this follows textbook kind of shit that I've seen in kaiju movies. Where it's focusing more on the human characters. Rather than, like, giving enough due focus on the thing doing its shit. We don't know what its objectives are. Let's see. Of course, Hendry's like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop this shit. And the general's like, oh yeah, keep the creature alive. But of course, it's escaped from the greenhouse at this point. And they decide to pretty much light its fucking ass on fire. More akin to what's kind of going on. So it is interesting that this still has blood in it, but not... it's in a different kind of way and context, as well as the fire. This, of course, leads the, after they pretty much torched the thing, which, by the way, Nikki was, like, protected by the barest kind of, bed mattress that catches on, like, they get buckets of kerosene and toss and light on this motherfucker. She should have been, like, flambéed on this. I'm like, I don't want her to be dead, but holy fucking shit, you fucking roasted her ass. It's like, whoa, bro. Whoa, bro. Whoa, whoa. So, this pisses the creature off, so it decides to fucking be like, I don't want to be hot, bitch. I'm gonna take you out, assholes. And pretty much sabotages their heating system before they have to try and figure out how to use certain other kind of heating methods. And they get the idea to utilize pretty much electricity to blast this fucker straight ass with, like, a fly trap. Of course, this is where Carrington's like, please, you're wise as shit. And he's like, dude, eat a dick! And pretty much cracks his ass across. And then they're able to do it, and he kind of, like, melts down. Like, let's see. And I don't blame Hendry. He does at least attempt to balance certain kind of things of, like, following orders. The Ned dude really doesn't get much in the way of story until the end, pretty much explaining to watch the skies and shit and what the fuck is going on at this point. But it's not like he's a complete straight rules man, but he's not one to just be complete willy-nilly and be like, dicks out for days, because I feel like a bitch. Mm-mm. So, even though he's attempting to do that with Nikki, oh lord, it is an interesting one. It's not up to what I like from John Carpenter's, but I don't think this is a bad movie. There's some weird shit that's like, what the fuck, that affects my enjoyment? But I definitely see why this has such an effect and its place in science fiction and sci-fi horror specifically. So, I would definitely recommend seeing it just for that, to also see how this kind of influenced Carpenter on his stuff and what he kind of was able to take from it. But it's also good on its own, and having all these kind of different characters really changes it up, especially military versus scientists. Having a, even though it's not a great mix, I mean, we've got two women characters in here. That does change the dynamic, and one of them's a pretty central linchpin one to our protagonist, Pat Henry. So it's like, okay, it's the weather that kind of was fucking up certain kind of shit. And that's pretty much where it kind of ends with Ned being able to talk and explain what's kind of happened at the base. So it wasn't ever on the it was kind of to the level, because if this creature was able to get out and spread its seeds, we would have a similar kind of effect of what was kind of going on. Though a totally different kind of one, instead of they had something of being like, maybe this thing is psychic and is reading our minds. It's like, maybe, but it really doesn't dive into it as much as I thought it would. I think that was more of an aspect from the book that they really didn't explore as much in the movie, which could have introduced some different kind of elements. It's not as accelerated a world-ending kind of event as if the Thing monster from the Thing would have gotten out. So it is interesting. Because it completely changes up the kind of dynamic. This is more of like a propagation instead of an assimilation and assuming and destruction of individuality that was presented in the 1982 Thing. Yeah, and of course it's different with how it's more of a kind of a fucking vampire plant versus thing that'll get to you and fucking, god, just biomass of weird ass shit. So I do like it with the world building, kind of lore of what we get with the monster and the crashing, the characters, because they have various interesting kind of motivations. Henry trying to deal with this crazy ass situation, Carrington wanting to learn more, but completely getting obsessed and not being able to get out of his own fucking way. Like, yeah, you learn that this, if anything, I would be like, Captain, look at this seed thing, it needs blood, this is how it reproduces. I'm not doing this to make more of these motherfuckers. We need to fucking stop this shit before it gets even fucking gnarlier. You know, like, I would use it to learn instead of being like, yes, let's make all these motherfuckers because they've done the stars and everything. It's like, you don't know how this fucker learned. You don't know what it knows. You don't know how it knows it. It's fucking going gnarly. You have not established any form of communication with this being whatsoever. It could be wise, or it could be the fucking dumbass of its species that crashed here, and you're trying to fucking talk to it like it knows. It doesn't know shit. It could be like the space truckers from like Alien. Like, picture this. You're primitive, and then you got the fucking like Nostromo that just fucking crash lands. Oh god, it's wise as shit. Maybe they're like corpo fucked by someone and they don't know how the fuck any of this thing works and can't tell you how to work it. Because you only know a certain kind of level of tech that you've got. It's just a different kind of thing because you don't have this kind of talking and plot points in Carpenter's because it's a different kind of beast. Ha! Inspiration leading to Carpenter telling his own kind of thing at that time. But I like this here because that scientist going too far is like, okay, why are you, like, he wants that knowledge, and I get it, and it's simple, but it leads him to do stupid kind of things, getting his fellow scientists killed because the thing came back in and fucking strung him up for the blood and shit. And at that point, you're like, I'm like, I would feel horrible that I'd gotten my coworkers killed. But I wouldn't fucking be like putting it on a pedestal. I'm like, that was using that as nutrients. That is doing a survival thing. Even also potentially probably doing a reproduction thing of making more of it to do something else. What the fuck? Okay, that's me though. This dude's like, yeah, let's do this shit. No! Oh god. So him getting like a cracked collarbone was the least amount of like what could happen in this. Because if this had went bad, it would have went real bad. So yes, I would definitely recommend people to watch this. If you're squeamish, it's not really bad compared to what we've got now. I don't think it's really that scary. I mean, the dog fighting when the dogs are pretty much trying to crack his ass. I'm like, holy shit, he's fucking going after the hogs. Fuck you, man! You also have to understand the kind of time period. It's the 1950s. Of course, we've got everything going on with pretty much the Cold War going on. We also get the Cold War, but more of an amped kind of thing in the thing. But it's interesting to see it from the time period and what's kind of going on for it. Is it completely scary? I mean, I've seen things that have scared me more. So do with that as you will. Kind of see what kind of goes on. I wouldn't recommend it to little kids because you then have to start explaining a lot of things more that they would be scared of certain kind of things. But yeah, it was enjoyable and very different. I do like those kind of sci-fi movies from the 50s because they do really kind of crazy shit and do different kind of things, and you see how they influence the sci-fi that you have potentially grown up with and understood, and seeing how those back then could influence them now. And then later on, you can see how your shit influenced and brought other things when you get into that in the future. So it's like really kind of cool that way. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.